Good morning. I'm Pete Najarian on this hump day for Market Rebellion. I got to tell you the take. We're here. We're excited. Yesterday, we had another kind of a different kind of ride when you look at what was going on with the Dow. We've been doing this a little bit more often in the last couple of sessions where it's midday where we're seeing some of those moves that are hitting onto the lows. That's exactly what happened yesterday. You look at the Dow, drop to the lows of the day about midday, a 250-point ride to the upside after that, and actually finishing the day up 340 points or 1%. Really nice performance day for the Dow. On the other hand, it was a very, very early surge to the downside from the NASDAQ, but then it just took off and ripped to the upside, up nearly 2%, as it was up 265 points yesterday. A lot of the fuel of that move, obviously technology, up about 2%, and you had the semiconductors up about 2.25%. You look across, we did have a lot of activity in many of the different names in the semiconductor space, but specifically it was AMD that was hitting as well. So we've had some of that unusual that's been hitting in certain areas of the marketplace, but it was crude oil. That really was the story, I think, yesterday. When you look at starting off the day closer to 99 and then just continuing to chug to the upside, finishing the session right around 105. Pretty nice performance out of crude. And certainly we could see some of the beta names that were reacting to that in a big way yesterday, giving a nice move to the upside. Now, volumes, 43.7 million contracts yesterday. Pretty nice day. Nice to see those volumes come back. And Apple, AMC, those were your leaders. It was mostly calls being bought, 60+% in both AMC and Apple yesterday, with both of them over 1 million contracts. Apple about 1.7 million contracts. AMC, it's been back for the last couple of sessions. That was over 1 million contracts once again. Pretty interesting to see that. Consumer discretionary, Tesla. A lot of those names moving to the upside, about 1.5%. The staples were up about 1%. Energy did recover off of those lows. It didn't finish in positive territory, but still just off about 0.5%. Did have a little bit of a reaction, of course, as we were looking at the price of oil as it was continuing to cruise to the upside. So a lot going on there. Volatility, we've talked about that and the moves and some of the levels and where we were the last time we were at these. When we talk about breaking underneath 20, that was on February 8th. You look into January to see the last time that we actually were holding underneath those 19 level as well. So that's a level that we seem to be hovering around right now. That was yesterday, and that's playing into today. So what was really some of the bigger movers yesterday? Well, Caesars was one of those, and Mohawk, another one. Look over at CarMax. CarMax kicking in pretty nicely yesterday. PVH, Lucid, which we were talking about some of the unusual in Lucid, but Lucid having a very nice day as well. Then you had Zoom and DocuSign, Okta, and Moderna, all having a pretty nice move yesterday, starting to react and see what's really kind of pushing markets around. In terms of the Dow itself, or maybe the S&P, you look at Visa and Nike and Salesforce, Microsoft, Apple, all those having a really, really strong day. As a matter of fact, Apple kicking around today about the idea of not too far away from that 3 trillion market cap. About 183 is where it's going to have to get for that to get to that market cap. But Apple on a big, big run. We know about all the option activity that we had seen in Apple over the last week and a half or so. And certainly that move from 150 up over 177, that's a really, really incredible move in a short period of time. Monstrous size stock as well. So it shows you where a lot of that money has been pushing into. A lot of great conversations today on television talking about, is this just some of that positioning as we get to the point that we are in the calendar? Could be. That certainly does make some sense of why we are seeing the specific names that are moving to the upside in a big way. There was some weakness in some of those names that were strong. CF, you look at Mosaic, you look at ADM, you look at Deere, all those names sort of throw everything into the ag basket with that. And you can understand had a really nice run of late, but a little bit of a pause as well. Palo Alto Networks, a little bit of a pause. Some of those Chinese names like Baidu and NetEase, a bit of a pause. Travelers after that big day pulling back just a little bit. So today we come into the day kind of quiet. Markets are very near some of those 2022 highs. Matter of fact, the S&P really getting very, very close once again. Look at the Dow. It was down about 100 points early on. It's been shifting back and forth as we've gotten through this first hour. We actually were up positive about 50 points. Last I looked, we were down again 70 points. You get the idea. We're in a little bit of that range in this first hour of trade. NASDAQ, on the other hand, just kind of slowly but surely kind of grinding. It was down about 85 points in the pre-market, down about 70, down about 60, down about 25. And that's been moving and shifting around, but mostly moving off of those lows and starting to push towards positive territory. Crude oil back up above 107. Matter of fact, tipped up over 108 just a little while ago as well. Bitcoin, it's losing a little bit, but it's been on this great run with Bitcoin right around 47,000, was 48,000 plus just the other day. The 10-year, that's been on this incredible move. Everybody's talking about inversions and everything else that goes into that conversation. But the 10-year sitting right around 2.4, maybe just a little bit below 2.4. Volatility right at 19. It's either just below 19, just above 19. So we'll call it 19 for right now, depending on where that market is at the moment. It's been shifting around this morning. Energy up about 1.5% early. Last I looked, it was still holding, but up about 1%, kind of slipping a little bit. Not a whole lot of movement. Consumer discretionary down close to 1%, not quite. Staples down about 0.5%. You got technology down about 0.5%. Semiconductors a little bit worse than that. But yesterday, we did have some earnings out there. Lululemon, they crushed it once again. Micron, they crushed it once again. You had Micron's CEO on television this morning talking about the quarter. I had the opportunity to talk about the quarter right after the earnings last night. They really did a great job once again on both sides, Lulu and Micron. Really some impressive numbers. That's why those stocks are reacting pretty nice today. We have the home loan demand. Now, that's something that certainly is in the backdrop. We talk about all the various catalysts from starting with Russia, Ukraine, but then the 10-year, and then the inversion, and then what's the Fed going to do, and all of these different what ifs and so forth that are out there. Well, one of those areas that's a catalyst certainly is in home demand and all the rest of that, and home loan demand, which was down nearly 7%. 30-year mortgages were near about 5% or so. Refis were down about 15% week over week. All of that just gets thrown in. And then, of course, ADP reports they added about 455,000 jobs. You just keep on throwing all this information at us. And this is what the markets are doing, trying to digest this as we speak. So there is some strength in the markets. We have CF. I just talked about it being weak yesterday. Back to being strong today. Micron having a pretty good start to the day. Those beta energy names, again, starting off at least pretty nice today, whether it's Oxy or Phillips 66, Marathon Oil, all having a pretty good push to the upside. Lulu, extraordinary move. And the most important part about this is Lulu's been running pretty strong into the earnings, and then post-earnings, even a stronger move to the upside. We'll see if that can hold on. It's really made a pretty significant move in a pretty short period of time. Moderna having a pretty good day. Those Chinese names, always interesting, that back and forth that we see. We talked about Mohawk having good days. Well, Mohawk not having as good of a day today, as well as add to that list as far as a little bit of weakness so far. We got Best Buy, we got PVH, we've got NVIDIA, we've got Marvell, we've got KLAC 10 Core, got Procter & Gamble, Salesforce, Home Depot. You get the idea. It's pretty broad in terms of what we are seeing, some of the pull on the markets right now. We'll see how that goes. Sabine Stillwater. Now, this is not a name that comes up very often, but for unusual activity, SBSW. Now, this is a gold, platinum. You can take an idea. It's primarily gold, but has a reach to just about everything in the metal space. 13,500 April 17.5 calls getting bought today, anywhere between 40 cents and about 45 cents. So that one definitely stood out, fairly inexpensive, but, you know, a relatively short period of time. It's just got a short period of time to make this move. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on this one. This is not a familiar name that hits very frequently on the unusual. So that alone makes it unusual. 13,500 as well. Throw into that as well, lithium. Now, LAC, Lithium Americas Corp. This is an interesting one because we've been talking about EVs. We've been talking about all the different things that go into EVs, whether it's copper or lithium, all of that. So in this case, stock trading just around 35, maybe a little bit more than 35. And we had a buyer of 5,200 of the April 45 calls. Going to have to make a pretty significant move in a fairly short period of time to get these things moving. But if it does start to move from here and has a continuous move, these options will start to move. 5,200 of those April 45 calls, 20 cents up to about 50 cents for those calls. Fairly inexpensive call, but it's going to have to make a pretty substantial move in a short period of time. $10. It doesn't have to make that whole move, as you know, as you start to move to the upside. And if it accelerates in the short, in the near term, it starts to give that acceleration. things can start to move in a hurry. So we'll keep an eye on this one as well. LAC, very interesting to see a couple of names that haven't hit a whole lot on the unusual options. Folks, have a great day of trading. I got a little bit more of a relaxing day today in front of me, so it should be a lot of fun as well. Be able to focus right on the markets themselves. Looking forward to today as well. Folks, have a great day of trading.